I'm recording now. I just went through the entire thing of the origami track breakdown, and I forgot to do the visuals. So maybe I'll put that out as just audio if that's useful at all. But yeah, take a look at the project really quick here. These are vocals. I got automation going on. My projects look really messy. Most of my percussion is a bunch of samples. Most of my instruments are pattern clips, vocals, harmony, and then sometimes I will export parts of audio to be efficient with my CPU so that the instrument isn't processing in real time. It's just an audio file. Anyway, do you have any questions?
Me, personally,
Yeah.
I've gained a lot of information from watching the breakdown that nobody else is going to get to see.
Mm-hmm.
Most of what I had wanted to inquire about was automation and how to apply that to vocals, and I learned a bunch of new tricks
Oh,
that I'm
nice.
excited to try out when I'm working on this next project that I'm working on.
Yeah, I was limited a long time to thinking that I had to like make a new instance of a vocal to change
Hmm.
it, but really, automation is really helpful because when you have a certain vocal, first of all, it's efficient. Second of all, it's more cohesive. So
Yeah.
everything's on the same channel. And so I have like a ton of fucking effects happening, and I can just turn them off and on. I can mix between them, and I can affect them any of the attributes of those plugins to change them over time. And they also stay on one channel, and I don't have to make multiple channels. So yeah,
Mm.
anything you want to take a closer look at?
Um, I think the problem is we've taken such a close look at everything.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there's not much left that I'm really curious about.
Okay, I got talking in circles
And
over
we've
here.
really gone over it. Um,
So this is the version of talking in circles that I accidentally saved over, so the mixing isn't actually the one you hear in the final version. Sounds pretty simple or pretty similar so far, but check it out. So I used some of the same samples from Origami in this because I wanted it. It's part of the same album. I used those harmony sections. It says Origami, but I tuned them differently, and they pan
it
rhythmically.
actually sounds really cool.
Yeah. Simple. I use the same instruments because it's so everything that is in Origami is also in Talking in Circles with a few more different instruments and samples, but I think that's the same instrument as the chords in the verses of Origami. Um, I
And what's
automate.
really interesting is it has a completely different feel.
Yeah. Um, I use that same tambourine. Where the hell did I put that? That's the same instrument that's in the second part of the first verse.
What's that automation that's happening there?
So
Is
right,
that a volume automation track? What is that?
yeah, so it's a manual sidechain basically. Instead of doing an actual
Ah,
sidechain, I just had it rhythmically pulse up. So every time a beat happens, it goes down. Why is the audio not coming through? There we go. Very quiet.
such funky sounds.
When the verse happens, this is pretty simple chords that are just. It's 3x. It's the 3 oscillator synth. They're all saw waves. They're all tuned the same. It's just a big sound. There's the clip. big chords. It's called peen. Yeah, I know. Genius.
Epic.
At the end, it just goes. I kind of like that.
I really enjoy how most of the different things aren't really labeled, and the one thing that is just the theme. Most of the other things are just like their default titling.
Usually my
But you went out
patterns,
of your way.
yeah, usually my patterns are keyboard meshing like this. Most of my patterns are ASF ASF because that's where my fingers are.
That's actually pretty funny. I've been going through the trouble of naming things, and I don't know why.
It's better to name them, but I can see what they are visually, so you know.
Yeah, they look very distinctive, honestly.
Yeah. Yeah, so the vocals were butchered it because of the mixing changes, but oh.
That's so cool. How did you accomplish that?
I was really inspired by Porter Robinson's latest album, Nurture.
Yes.
Has a lot of these high things, and so the original vocals. Where are they?
Terrific album.
That's not it. Where is it? I'm gonna make that dry. Did I erase the regular ones? Yeah, so basically I went into Melodyne and I just raised them and did some stuff in there, so I can't really show you that. And then it's heavily sidechained, so the kick is given a lot of emphasis. I wish I could. A lot of automation happening with the volume again to kind of replicate a sidechain. I reused vocals from Origami. Weren't you the one? The weren't you the one? Weren't you the one who came to say that part? It's pitched up a bunch.
Okay, bro. I didn't even notice. I'm gonna be real.
Yeah.
That's not right by me when I heard this song.
So it just happens like after each phrase. They aren't intentionally made to alter the meaning of the lyrics, but if you want to interpret that way, it gives it an entirely different meaning to it. Were you the one talking in circles? Whereas if you don't listen to it with those vocals, it's just like, oh, I'm talking in circles. Yeah.
See, if I could reach the level that you're at right now, I'd be a very happy camper. One day.
And then that's when I automate the effects. Right there, I automate the regular vocals, but I repeat the first part of the phrase. Which is fun. Sounds cool. And then I do a little harmony right there. Yeah.
That sounds so fucking clean, bro.
There's a lot of harmony happening here. And it's kind of randomly placed, to be honest. The sidechaining helps with rhythm, even if something's not in rhythm. When you sidechain it, it sounds like it's in rhythm, which is cool. It's kind of cool.
I'm feeling that.
There is a lot of sub action happening, which is kind of fun
Ooh.
sounding. It goes in tandem with the drums, which here what the drums look like.
Ooh.
So what I'm doing with the drums there is I have a regular kick happening every bar, but I add some bounce to it. So I created another version of it. Here's the difference in them. I use the multiply knob to multiply the time stretch, and so it becomes a little shorter and a little higher pitched. So because the drum happens really fast, it's shorter and it's higher pitched to give it some variation. I really like the sound of this kind of bouncy kick recently. Here I use a million of those harmony tracks to just make a wall of sound in its sidechain so it sounds like it's in rhythm. So there aren't many instruments happening there, but the harmony kind of is its own instrument. More automation happening, sidechain automation. There are three instruments in this part, if I were to separate them. There's that brass one happening. There's this guy, which oh god. I think something didn't get automated here. This is why you should organize your automation clips. Anyway, it's a very distorted sounding thing. And then there's also this very big crushed saw waves.
Okay, I'm gonna say it.
Yeah.
It looks like spaghetti.
What looks like spaghetti?
You know the piano roll. I think it's called the score. I'm not sure, but
The piano roll.
when you're in a pattern. Yeah.
This?
Hold on, it's lagging a little bit, but I'm sure. Yeah. That absolutely looks like spaghetti from far
Yeah,
away.
I know. At one point I changed it to yellow, and I forgot to change it back, and so everything is now yellow in songs I make, and I kind of like
Uh-huh.
it. There's a setting in here, where you can where is it set? Helpers ghost channels.
What's that?
And what that does is see these notes that are not solid chords.
Oh.
It shows you
Yeah.
what's ever in the other tracks in that pattern. So when I'm working with chord progressions, I can see what notes are in that progression already.
And is this like a feature that's exclusive to like a later version of FL Studios?
No, they're in all the versions.
Really? And where exactly is it?
So when you're in the piano roll, at the top your piano roll options, there's
Uh-huh.
a drop down arrow. Click it and it's under helpers ghost channels.
I have been looking for that. Thank you.
I wish that it was applied already, but it's so.
It seems like something you'd want to have on.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It's so helpful.
Let's see here. What else? What else? Oh wow, I'm learning how to whistle. Anyway, what else is in here? The next part of the song.
Why am I still hung up on this?
This part's interesting.
Why am I still hung up on this?
Very quiet vocals.
When the rain dripping
Those are the dry vocals.
forehead.
And I add isotope trash onto it. Amazing distortion plugin. It's just going through a filter, scooping out everything except the mids, and they're distorted a little bit. Sounds like it's from a radio. And then it's put through a virtual amplifier, so it sounds like it's coming out of an amplifier, and there's some stereo width happening to it, so it's a little wider sounding. And then I emphasize, I put it through another filter so that the amplified sound is now put through another radio-ish filter.
Very epic.
Why am I
So then it
still
sounds like
hung
that.
up on this?
And then percussion, I have this weird galloping thing happening. It sounds different in the recorded version because I changed the effects when I did the origami. So I couldn't really show you what I did there in the final.
Why am I still hung
In the final version, I also toned down these kicks to be way less abrasive.
when there's rain dripping on
And that choir thing from the origami track is still happening.
turned to
Oh, this is a cool instrument.
Oh.
Where's the animation clip that makes it audible? Come on. Oh, God damn it. I think what I did here is I literally recorded me keyboard mashing random notes, and then I went back into the piano roll and changed the notes to fit chords. That's really fun to do.
See, I see.
It's not really in rhythm, but the notes change at the right times.
turned to a puddle in Motel 6. I should just go home and get high.
Automation on the snares again. That part's butchered by the fact that I saved over it, but it still sounds kind of cool. This is when I changed the vocals to natural. Oh, gotta turn off those effects.
Talking in circles, I'm making hurdles
And they're just double tracked.
just to get to you.
And then single,
Ooh.
because it has this silence part in it. Getting nowhere in here. I can't get to you. Ooh. I automated the pitch to go up right at the last minute. Something that was new, I've never tried it.
I like that a lot.
I think this is sub. Oh no, I have a constant wave happening. It just. In the final version, it's a lot better sounding. But you know, you don't always have to do chords in the same instrument. I can add one note to one instrument, one note to another instrument, and another note to the other instrument to all work together to make a chord.
Yeah, you were telling me about that with the different voices and stuff.
Yeah.
I've taken that to heart. I haven't been able to reply because I suck, but. Ooh.
That's the bass. Side chains. There's that guy happening. It's automated to open up in a filter. It's sidechained, and it's a really fast arpeggiator. Use Synth 1, it's so fucking cool. So the more notes I add, the slower the arpeggiation is going to be, so I gotta keep that in mind. So for that fact, I add the same amount of notes to every chord most of the time. This one looks like it has more. But if I were to play that instrument, it just sounds like that, because it's arpeggiating between a few octaves. As I add more notes, it slows down. Because it has to deal with more notes. And then right here, I have the main chords happening on that Big Crush synth. But then when it transitions and it does this little in-between chord, it actually switches to a different instrument. And it has different stereo fields, so it's rhythmic. Right here, I use these really high. Oh, I reused the thing from Origami, where it's a crash that's like that. There's also this ride reversed that just repeats to kind of give noise to the pulsing rhythm of the track. You can do almost anything with audio and apply it rhythmically to kind of fill in something to give the piece an overall rhythm.
Oh, and that's something.
I added a snare here. What I did with the snare is interesting. So if you go into the effects part of this, it's this weird icon, which is, you understand why it's that icon when you work with amplifiers. It's a little tube. A tube is like a light bulb looking thing that amplifiers used to use back in the day, so it's just kind of that icon. I turned up the, oh, this isn't the right snare. Oh, okay, so I actually edited it because of the save over. So in the final track, I put stereo delay on it. Sometimes I'll do the effect in here because it's way more efficient on the CPU. I could go and put it on the actual channel, but this is just a nice built-in, simple stereo delay. Very dancey. What do I have going? Yeah, some of those. It turns into more of a house track at this point. The galloping thing happens again. And I add in more hi-hats here. Where did I put them? I also have this interesting thing that I used in a lot of the first scores, where the tambourine, I made an alternate version of it that's a little overpitched, and so it's when it switches between them, it just has a different texture. I use both of them at the same time in this part. Same hi-hats from Origami. A lot of the samples are the same. This is my favorite chorus, where it switches to... where instead of doing the hi-hats every... I put the hi-hats every first beat. At every single beat. And so I just like variation like that. Every chorus is different. It also has the little ones to kind of swing it. and before the vocals hit, I repeat those. And it side chains with a lot of reverb.
Walking in circles, I'm looking for those to get to you.
Those are a bunch of the same thing, but duplicated with different pitches. Yeah, kind of fun. I did those manually with the pitch knob. It's annoying. If you look up at the top here, everything you highlight over it shows the value of. And each 100 cents is one note. So that's something to keep in mind. I don't really pay attention to it. I just do that I just listen to the note. I like this part because I haven't done these kind of vocals in a long time, since my old days.
It's way too loud in here. I've got to get out of here.
Melodyne. I know some people who follow me are interested in hearing how I do this. It's that old Hateseed wooden toaster Emojin heap sounding thing.
It's way too
So I have
loud in here.
main vocals,
It's way too loud in here.
and then I have layers.
It's way too loud in here. It's way too loud in here. It's way too loud in here.
And that's all stacked to make some harmony. And they're pitch corrected in Melodyne from the same audio file.
Got to get out of here. I've got to get to you.
And I do that weird repeat thing again with side chaining, so it sounds like it's in rhythm. And it happens that entire part kind of fades into its own instrument, so I don't know if a lot of people notice. And the interesting thing about that, music theory wise, is even though the chords are changing, this chord is staying the same through the entire chorus. If you find neutral notes, like the root notes, fifths, sixths, or seconds, usually they work a lot of the time just added to any chord. And so if you use those notes in a chord, you can play that chord the entire time, even with other chords happening, and it's just going to add some cool flavor to the chords. There's also this little...
It's way too crowded here.
That little thing happening. I wanted it to sound like it was coming from a different part of the headphone, so I think what I did here in the final version is I put
It's way too crowded here.
I put a phase inverter on it. Let me just put that on here now that it's gone. They removed phase inverter from the latest version of FL, so you have to look it up now. It's called Fruity Phase Inverter. In the older versions, it's on the list of effects. And what that does is it inverts. It's hard to explain what phase inversion is. Pretty much plays like opposite versions of a sound signal in both ears. And what that does is, if you're listening to it on a mono speaker, it doesn't even come through and you can't hear it, because they're canceling each other out. But if you have it on a stereo system, it'll sound like it's almost coming from the middle of your head in the back.
It's way too crowded here.
I don't know if you can hear that.
It's
I
way
mean,
too
I would be able
crowded
to, but one of my earbuds died.
So you can't hear it?
It's way too crowded here.
Well, I can hear it, but only like one half of the back of my head.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's an interesting
Yeah,
sound.
I'm dying
I
about
don't
it.
advocate for using that on important parts of songs because if people are listening to it on a certain audio device, it's just not going to come through.
Mhm.
I don't hear people using phase inversion a lot. I had an idea for a song though where half of the song is phase inverted and half of it isn't. So when you listen to it on a different device, it's a different song.
That would be sick.
I want to do that still. Simple long bass notes. I like adding bends and little octave jumps to rhythmically make the bass more interesting. There's a feature in FL where up here at the top you press the slide triangle, and wherever you put the slide, it will slide that note to that note.
That's cool.
The only thing is this only works with native plugins. So
Let's see.
it's kind of a shame. You have to automate. In any other plugin, you'll have to automate the pitch in that plugin. But in FL plugins, it's cool because you can use it, and it's really simple to use, and you can see where everything is, and you can edit how long it takes, and yeah, I love it. So that's why I only use 3x OSC for this, because I mean, all I need is a saw wave for the bass, and I can do that in native plugins. So this is pitched really high. They're not really meant to be highlights of the vocals. They're meant to just kind of add to as an instrument, even if it has vocals. But you can listen to it as vocals because it also is repeating the lines. It's very hard to hear because I fucked up the mix, but yeah. Ooh, right there. A lot of EDM music uses this. I put it on the master. I turn on Fruity Free Filter, and what that is it's just a filter that sounds like a classic analog filter. I turn it off for the entire song until I get to that part, and it's a high pass. So when it builds up to a new part, it gradually cuts off all the low frequencies and shrinks the range of the song down before it opens back up again.
Oh, that was clean.
Yeah. It goes into a bunch of little arpeggios. There's a lot of piano happening. I use that paper sound effect again. And normally that's the speed of the arpeggio, but you can automate the speed of an arpeggio. So I think every time the chord hits, it speeds up near the end. It's also panning. And a lot of, you can do this a lot. It's kind of like an impact noise. It's in the background because all it is a sine wave, so it doesn't take up that much room in the headspace. There's this piano. It's a really long outro because it's the end of the album. So I like to give them kind of an open end, make you think about everything that happens. I have this nice pad. And just sort of pulses. And there's another one that fades in as you listen to it.
Very cool.
There's a lot of automation in this song. So,
And it does its job. Sounds really awesome.
thank you. So, yeah, is there anything you want to look at in this?
Honestly, everything that I want to look at was done in Melodyne. So one day, I'm gonna need some explanations on using Melodyne because I'm gonna get it again.
Oh yeah, I'll do a separate thing on Melodyne.
Yeah.
I really want to do that because I love showing people how to use that.
Because with the song that I'm working on, I would absolutely love to do some of the things stylistically that you don't with the vocals, not like in the same way,
yeah,
but I love that really high sound where you pitched up the vocals and how that kind of like harmonized well with the other instances of it. It was all just really nice.
thank you.
Like it stimulated me in a very specific way.
So I guess next time I'm gonna look at a different track. So yeah, I'm gonna stop the recording.